Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Weekly Win. My name is Tim. I'm joined by my co-host here, Ken.
Hello, everyone.
And today we're going to talk about a case I find rather interesting, the Rittenhouse case. So, yesterday we covered the more outcomes of the Julius Jones case, more about like what's going on with like the community's reaction stuff. Today we figured we'd do like a more deeper dive into the actual case of Kyle Rittenhouse, because in my opinion, this one is much more impactful nationwide.
Not to mention, it's much more current to our understandings rather than something that happened when we were 2 or 3.
Accurate. Ken, you want to go over some case details?
Right, so I have pieced this together as best I can from 2 different videos and like 2 or 3 different articles. So, in essence, what I have gathered is Kyle himself, he claims that he either decided to or he was asked. It's not immediately clear to me. He either decided or he was asked to help defend the business of, I think it was a relative or a family friend, one or the other. While he was out patrolling, helping out some sites, this is an unverified report, but it is reported that he gave away some body armor that he had. I don't recall anybody ever saying anything about that the night that it happened, so I think that's a little dubious. We'll see. We'll see, though. He was also running around administering first aid to people who were injured and whatnot. There were several people doing this. This wasn't too uncommon. Then a little later on into the night, there's a group of individuals, whether you call them protesters or rioters, it makes no difference to what actually happened. Supposedly, there were some fires set. I don't know if there's any truth to that. I assume there is because we saw some photos. Hint, hint, wink, wink. But I don't know if YouTube will let us talk about that. Anyway, luckily, Kyle was there and he saved Kenosha from another set of disasters. And right after this, the crowd kind of gets the idea of what's going on here. They start to chase him because he's stopping their plans, whatever those might be. I'm not here to debate what they were, but he was there to stop them. At this point, we get to where Rosenbaum chases Rittenhouse in between vehicles at that car dealership, and he throws the empty plastic bag. I'm sure we all know exactly what point I'm talking about now because we all remember the empty plastic bag. While this chase is going on, a shot is fired in the background. This one was fired by a gentleman named Joshua Zeminski. And according to Kyle, Joshua Zeminski had told Rosenbaum to get him. So Rittenhouse turns around, he fired at Rosenbaum and left him with a head wound, and I think it was 2 other wounds to the chest.
Something like that, yeah.
So Rittenhouse and another guy from the crowd are both trying to patch this guy up. The other gentleman that's helping Kyle is seen taking his shirt off to try and use it as a tourniquet. And Kyle gets on his phone, I presume, to call for 911. I have no idea, though. I don't think that ever came out. Possibly it did, and I missed it. But I think he called 911. After this, he runs north down the street that they're on. It's called Sheridan Street. He falls to the ground while he's being chased. And there's an individual in the crowd in a white shirt, I believe. He is actually filmed trying to run up behind Kyle and hit him in the back of the head as
with
he's
a rock.
retreating from the crowd. Yeah. And then literally a couple seconds later, he trips and falls to the ground. We see one guy fly in seemingly out of nowhere with like this Jackie Chan style martial arts kick that looked really cool if it wasn't, such a serious situation here. I would say that was actually kind of cool. He gets away without actually getting hit, though. The next gentleman, his name was Anthony Huber. He runs up, tries to hit Kyle with a skateboard, and he's shot. He dies of his injuries. Same with Rosenbaum. The last man, Grosskreutz, he runs up to Kyle, and this is kind of where the details get murky, where it's one side versus the other. As best I understand it, he drew his pistol to try to either shoot to disable or kill whatever Kyle, because he saw Kyle as a threat, because he just shot 2 other people. Kyle sees this guy, and he assumes that Grosskreutz is actually the threat, because he's starting to point a gun at him. Kyle shoots Grosskreutz in the arm, and his bicep literally explodes. That was not cool, and he runs away screaming for a medic. Kyle turns right around, and he walks towards the sound of sirens. There was one guy, though, after Grosskreutz that got shot, who was standing right next to him. You can see him hold his hands up and start to walk backwards. Now, this wasn't talked about during the trial, but I believe this is actually some evidence that he's not a cold-blooded killer. Because if he was this murderous, killer that the prosecution was trying to portray him as, he would have just simply, killed this other guy too. He got pretty close. At that point, it wouldn't matter what the punishment was, if the prosecution were correct. So that's why I think in this case that it's actually Rittenhouse who is defending himself and is in the right.
Well, that is a very good summation, and now I'm going to give my opinions on it based on the evidence. Obviously, Kyle is innocent. Hard stop. The prosecution has done nothing but really just tell the jury that they should think that Kyle is guilty, and anytime they presented evidence, it has contradicted their points. There was one point I watched all the closing arguments just to make sure that I really had their arguments their best arguments in mind. And at one point, the prosecution goes, "Well, there's no way the guy could grab the gun," and they show the video where his hand is clearly on the barrel, essentially. The first guy who got shot. It's like, well, yeah, he's close enough to grab the gun. He wasn't 4 feet away, like you're trying to say. Additionally, if Kyle really wanted to kill people, he had 30 shots, not just the 4 that he fired. So he could have fired another 26 shots, for those of you who can do the math. And instead, he retreated to the police line for safety. Because he didn't want to kill people. He wanted to not die. And prosecution has gone back and forth on this several times about, oh, well, you're using Full Metal Jacket bullets, which is, for anyone who doesn't know, the standard bullet. Alternatively, like the pistol that I carry, I use hollow points, which are meant to do more damage to flesh, which the guy who got blasted in the arm, I believe it was, sorry, the names just don't quite stick in my head. The guy who had the pistol had hollow points, and the prosecution is saying, well, you should have been running hollow points, which finding hollow points for rifles, I've never done it, so I don't know if they exist or not. But if you're saying that you should have been carrying hollow points because they're less deadly, then, I mean, I guess it doesn't make any sense, because the bad guy, in my point of view, is carrying hollow points, which are more likely to kill somebody. And essentially, the entire prosecution's argument just fell apart. And the defense went, well, they lied here, here, and here, and this, and this don't make sense. And so, in my opinion, Kyle Rittenhouse will get off with no charges. Sorry, that was a bit rambly, but
That's all right. I'm hoping that he gets off innocent on these charges too. But every day that passes, I get a little bit more nervous. We're in day 3 now of deliberation. I'm starting to think that some minds might be thinking of guiltying. I don't know.
well, probably. But they also don't like the idea of the courthouse being burnt down either, if they say not guilty.
Yeah, it's such a shame that it has to come to this. One kid's freedom, or
the city,
such huge property damage. Yeah, literally cities, huge
True.
property damage. It's sad that it has to come to this.
Agreed. Well, I think he's innocent. Do you think he's innocent or not guilty or guilty? What is your opinion? I think he's innocent, not just not guilty, but actually innocent of charges.
Yeah, man, I think self-defense here is the proper defense, and I think that really that is the truth, and that he is innocent. He didn't premeditate any murders. It's crazy. It's crazy some of the things that you hear on like Twitter or Facebook or something. It's like some of you people need to get back to reality.
He's a
Seriously.
white supremacist for shooting other white people.
Like, seriously, what? In what world does that make sense?
Well, for our listeners, I have a
uh,
question for you. Down below, tell us if you think he's innocent, which means that self-defense was justified and there's nothing wrong. Not guilty, which means that they just don't have enough evidence to convict him, or guilty because he should be convicted. Go ahead and tell us your opinions and why down below. We'd be glad to read them. Other than that, if you have nothing else, Ken, I think we'll bid the listeners adieu.
yeah, I think that's pretty much it for us.
Well, we hope you all have a great day, and God bless.